I'm King 5 Chief Meteorologist Mike Everett. We will be in first alert on Saturday, specifically on Saturday evening. We're tracking something that's a little bit out of the norm. We are looking at the potential for some gusty winds, some lightning, hail, locally heavy rain, and possible flash flooding and slides near some of our new burn scars, especially up towards the Cascades and in the Olympics. And a very specific window from this. So Saturday from 6 p.m. until Sunday at 4 a.m., the storm is going to move through from south to north. We've been talking a lot about mountain storms and a lot of what's been happening over top of eastern Washington, but the focus will change and become more widespread as we work our way through Saturday night. So first thing to know, most of the day on Saturday is going to be fine. Get out and enjoy yourself immensely. It looks like Sunday is going to be fairly user-friendly as well. We see more storm potential in the mountains, but big part of our story is that warmth. We'll talk about that in a moment as well. So again, just to be specific, Saturday at 6 p.m. until about Sunday at 4 a.m., we could be tracking what could be a bit of a light show across the region. Of course, some of those gusty outflow winds could get up to about 40, 50 miles an hour, maybe even higher in some concentrated spots. And again, we're not just talking about the mountains or eastern Washington, we're talking about all of western Washington. Let's start our story here. This is an area of low pressure. It's going to set up shop right off the coast this weekend. As I've told you many times, flow around a low is counterclockwise. So why is that important? Well, because it dictates the direction of the storm that's going to move through here. We're going to be tracking a cell that's going to come out of Oregon and into Washington right around the dinner hour tomorrow. So we'll take a look at the setup for that in just a moment. But I want to tell you about this. It's not very often that we hear from the Storm Prediction Center in Norman, Oklahoma. They track storm potential all across the country. Many times they're not looking at the Pacific Northwest. It has been a very long time since we've seen them issue a slight weather outlook. What that means is that there is a slight chance that we could see some severe weather down towards the south. 2020 is the last time they issued one in our region here. So what that means is there is a possibility of rotation. What is rotation? Well, that's the possibility of some storms that could be strong enough they could become tornadic. Very low probability of that, but it is something that we're keeping an eye on. You're also noticing the entire region has the possibility for some thunderstorms, and then where you see the marginal there, that's where we could see some of those gustier winds and some lightning that could start some new fires and possibly take down some tree limbs. We're not done on Sunday. There is the potential for more thunderstorms basically from King County northward all the way up through the Cascades there. I'll show you what that looks like in a moment, but it's Saturday evening that's our area of highest concern. Now, one of the things that I want to make clear here, this is Saturday's high temperatures. They're going to come in a little bit higher than originally forecasted. And what's important about that is it sets the stage for the fight. Warm air and cold air can't be friends. And so as we warm the atmosphere throughout the day, that air will stay at the surface all the way through the afternoon and into the evening, even after the sun sets. As the storm system moves in, it's going to bring in relatively cold air behind it. It could be about 30 degrees cooler than that air. As they start to interact, that creates that friction that generates thunder, lightning, and possibly some hail as well. So thunderstorm energy, this is one of our newest tools. It measures something called CAPE. We don't need to get into that, but what you do need to know is this, is we're measuring the potential for thunderstorms. We saw plenty of that on Friday, and as we go through the day on Saturday, the whole Cascade Crest has the potential to see some thunder and some lightning there off towards the Olympics as well. It's what happens next that's a big part of the story. That potential is going to fill in all across the region and down into some of the lowlands as well. Now, as it gets into the later hours of the afternoon and evening, that starts to taper off, but that potential still exists across the entire region here. In fact, I don't know how much I trust that. I would say that probably out until about 10, 11, 12. In fact, let's put Futurecast into motion here. We'll see a pretty benign day for the most part. And then right around 7 p.m., here it comes from south to north. We'll start to see those cells crossing from the Oregon state line into Washington. So it stands to reason, the southern portion of the I-5 corridor, Chehalis, we're going to see the first activity there. We get into about 8, 9 p.m. Now we could be tracking some strong weather right over top of Olympia, towards Tacoma, down towards Chehalis, and to a certain extent out towards the coast as well. Westport could see some showers and possibly some gusty winds there. And of course, over the Cascades from White Pass all the way up through Snoqualmie and up towards Stevens, we're going to be tracking some storm potential as well. Now, what we're really keeping an eye on is that time frame between about 9 and around 11 p.m. for some of the metro areas, including Seattle, out towards Bremerton, and all the way up towards Interstate 90, where we could see some strong weather, even out towards Wenatchee. So we've got a lot of things going on there. We've got a Sounders game that's going to be taking place at Lumen Field at 5 p.m. There's some concerts taking place, even up towards Chateau Ste. Michelle, out towards Woodinville. There's going to be a big concert out there as well, so we'll keep a close eye on that too. Now we fast forward into the later hours. This is about 11 p.m. We see it lifting out of the metro area in Seattle, but now moving up to some of the parts towards the north, so into Snohomish County and out towards Clallam County on the coast. We get to about midnight. Now we're starting to see some of that winding down in terms of energy and potential, but still possibly gusty, rainy, haily, up towards Haley. Yeah, I just made up a new word. Up towards Skagit County and out towards Island County, off towards places like Camano, Whidbey Island. You could be tracking some of that in the late hours as well. We're not done after midnight. There is more storm potential that could push out towards the northwestern tip of the Olympic Peninsula. It looks like Skagit County is going to be seeing plenty of rain. Off towards Bellingham and Whatcom County. This is well after midnight. This is around 2 a.m. on Sunday. It's not going to be until about 4 a.m. that we finally start to see some of this lift away, but even then we're looking at shower potential right around 6 a.m. along the immediate coast. Then for the most part, Sunday's going to be fine. We'll see some of that shower activity, but as we saw earlier, some of that could manifest as storms off towards the northern portion of the Cascades as we go into the afternoon and evening, and then it should quiet down. We'll see that cell continue to sit off the coast there, but that could push in again early next week and bring some more rain our way. Speaking of rain, I've been getting a lot of questions about whether this is beneficial or not, and the answer is yes. We could certainly use the rain, and it's going to be enough that it could possibly help with some of the firefighting efforts, especially off towards Brennan and off towards some of the established fires that we've seen off towards Lake Chelan and down towards Yakima. But again, with some new lightning there, it may be a net effect. We're really hoping that we don't get any new lightning strikes that create new fires. On top of that, you've seen the rain potential there, so we do have some flash flood potential up towards the Cascades for the most part. And on top of new burn scars, those are those areas where they don't really have much root structure. There's a lot of charcoal there that floats very easily. So what it can do is run downstream, dam up, and then kind of create some of those mud flows that create flash flooding in a lot of spots downstream. So that's something we'll have to watch as well. Take a look at your 7-day forecast. It's going to be kind of a rough evening on Saturday, but then things will start to mellow out on Sunday. And then after that, summer resumes. We got some good news headed our way. We'll be tracking 70s by day and 50s by night.